to Sports Watch. So, after two scintillating test matches, Australia are 2-0 up in the Ashes. Once again, the second test, just like the first one, went down to the wire. On the fifth day, it looked as if the Australians had the upper hand. Ben Stokes, the English captain, had other ideas. He scored a magnificent 155 runs in the fourth innings of the test match, which included 9 huge sixes. The Australians probably cast their mind back to 2019 in Headingley, whether this was going to be a repeat of that same performance. But in the end, the Australians hold their nerve and managed to screw the English and get a result in their favour. So, after very close matches, the Australians have managed to win both of them. And the whole talk about England's ultra aggressive approach that Bazball was going to smash the Aussies in, it hasn't been the other way round. England have capitulated and the Australians have played hard and tough cricket and have rightfully managed to go 2-0 up in the series. Before the test series even began, many of the English experts had predicted that the Australians would lose the series 3-1. Now, Australians were the World Test champions, so it was probably a bit premature for the Englishmen to think that their Bazball approach is going to be too much for the Australians. Now, the Australians' pace battery of Cummins, Starc, Hazlewood, Lyon, and even Scott Boland in some matches are probably the best bowling attack in the world. And to think that the English approach is going to scare them away is a bit too much. And in the two test matches that we have just witnessed, it has been proved correct. The Australians have picked wickets in regular intervals. The England players went hard, they attacked, but the Australian bowlers, they always picked up wickets. All the Australian bowlers are wicket-taking bowlers who can turn the match at any instant, be it Mitchell Starc, be it Pat Cummins, be it Josh Hazlewood. And even though they were missing Nathan Lyon, who is probably going to miss the rest of this tour as well, it didn't matter. Even on a flat pitch, on the fifth day, where there was hardly anything happening, the Australians held their nerve and etched out a result. Now, the day wasn't short of controversy, especially the manner in which Johnny Bairstow was dismissed. Now, Bairstow left a short ball of green and he ventured out of his crease, and Alex Carey threw down the ball which hit the wickets, and Bairstow was given run out, much to the displeasure of the English crowd. They booed the Australians right into their dressing rooms as well. This added a bit of spice to the encounter. Since Bairstow was dismissed, Ben Stokes took it upon himself to launch a scathing attack on the Australians. After Bairstow's dismissal, Stokes scored 46 runs in 21 balls. He even brought up his 100 with 3 consecutive sixes of Cameron Green. It was almost that Stokes was having vengeance, and the Australians were being reminded of the Headingley attack 4 years back. Stuart Broad, who also thought that Alex Carey would be remembered for all the wrong reasons for that dismissal, was with Ben Stokes when the pair put on a partnership of over 100 runs. For the first 50 runs, Broad had scored only 1 and Stokes had managed to score the rest. When Stokes and Broad were batting, the Aussies looked hapless, helpless also. Even Pat Cummins, his captaincy looked very poor in some parts of the game. Even when Stokes and Broad were rotating the strike, he wasn't bringing the field in. He was feeling the pressure as well. But somehow he was waiting for either of them to make a mistake. The mistake eventually came from Ben Stokes when he tried to whack Josh Hazelwood for a six and ended up giving a simple catch to Alex Carey. It was a phenomenal innings. But credit must go to the Australians. They played tough cricket for 5 long days. They were in for the marathon, not the sprint. And the English should remember that it's Test cricket, not T20 cricket. Against quality bowling attacks, they would always end up short. And that's what has happened in both the Test matches, despite England having being in good positions in both of them. Now, where do England go from here? Now, the Australians are bound to lose Nathan Lyon for the remainder of the series. What can England do to turn things in their favour? They have to win the remaining 3 matches, or at least 2 of them, to square the series. Either way, Australia are very close to retaining the Ashes. James Anderson and Stuart Broad hasn't been up to their best, especially in this match. Anderson has looked flat for most of the series. It's time to inject in some pace. Maybe Mark Wood might be just that X factor that England need. In this match, it was pretty evident that the Australian quicks were much more faster than the Englishmen. The English bowlers like Ollie Robinson, James Anderson, Stuart Broad were bowling at 130 km per hour, much slower than in the previous Test match. And the Australian bowling attack, led by Starc and Cummins, were particularly faster. They're bowling in the high 140s. Starc was touching 90 miles per hour. So the speed difference is obviously there. And when the Australians decided to bowl short to the Englishmen, it awakened them. It was also a test match where either of the batsmen from both the sides were hit a record of 52 times on the body. Now, England don't have a great fast bowling lineup. Their pace bowlers are good swing bowlers, but they don't have much pace. But even they managed to hurt the Australians. So the Australians would also be wary of that. And the Englishmen must inject some pace into their bowling lineup. Their batting has looked alright, but in key situations, some of their major players have found ways to get themselves out. This ultra aggressive Bazball approach has also led to the downfall of the English cricket in the first 2 Test matches. Let's take, for example, Harry Brook, who had been scoring plenty of runs of late in flat pitches. In Pakistan, he looked deadly. In New Zealand, he also scored some hundreds. He was averaging score to 100 in his early Test matches. But against the Australian pace bowling attack, he has been found wanting. And some of the shots, especially the shot that he managed to get himself out in the second innings, if it had been in any other era, he would have got a real hiring from the coach. But now that Bazball is doing the rounds, they can get away with basically anything. So Australia have got his number very well. Joe Root, despite his heroics in the first Test match, in the first innings, he hasn't performed in the remaining 3. Cummins has once again dismissed him in this Test match. So England need to wake up. They need to make it rough for the Australians. And they also need to play using their head a little bit. Instead of going all out, they must realize that it's a 5-day game. There is time. Their bowlers need to rest. They're scoring runs quickly. They're playing rash shots, getting themselves out. They are not leaving that much for their time for their bowlers to recover. Ben Stokes played a phenomenal innings today, but even he wasn't 100% fit. Anderson isn't 100% fit either. So with a beleaguered bowling lineup and already being 2-0 down in the series, English are already staring down the barrel. Michael Vaughan and his colleagues might just have time to rethink about their predictions. The prediction that Vaughan made was 3-1 for the Englishmen. It's all going down the drain, and probably Glenn McGrath will be laughing because His predictions are still alive. He predicts every time that the Australians will win 5-0. And even Pat Cummins hadn't thought probably that his team will be up 2-0 after the first two test matches. The next test match is only 3 days away, and after succumbing to two heavy defeats in such closely contested matches, the English team would definitely be short of ideas. They would definitely have their morale down. So, how can they rejuvenate themselves up in the next three test matches would be a thing to see. Let me know in the comment section what you feel, and if you like the content, please like and subscribe to the channel.